Hello and welcome to the Starcraft 2 nuclear trench warfare tutorial. I'm just narrating over a video clip of the first ever time used this strategy was. I worded that very strangely, but bear with me. I'm trying to keep up with this video as it moves very, very fast, and I'm just narrating over what's happening as I watch it right now. So we're both watching this real time. I can't remember exactly what everything happens. So you'll see, initially I just was going for, opening rush. It wasn't working too well. They walled off pretty well. They made a lot of stuff, and I was like, no, I'm not losing this forward position. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna bunker up. I'm gonna get as many guys in these bunkers as I can. I'm gonna get as many guys out over here as I can, and keep the enemy at bay. Essentially, make sure the enemy didn't really leave their own base. Preserve map control within just making them stuck in a little corner. Now you probably can't see the point values because they're very small, but my at the end of this game, my mineral and gas double of what his were. I wasn't spending that much money, but he was making more units. He just wasn't teching his units, which is a really big mistake and really led to the success of this strategy. Right here I don't click on him, but my units weren't even teched yet. It was just the fact that I could keep pumping him out, and he wasn't continuously sending forces. So he smashed my first barracks, and then he manages to kill every single Marine I have. His medevac runs out of energy, and I just pump out more and more Marines until he's forced to fall back. So yes, I have 1 armor by this time, and it's giving me an edge. It's giving me a serious edge over his forces because all he has is Marauders and Marines. And, full Marines versus Marines and Marauders is going to win every time, but it's not the greatest plan. So this is where I just decided I'm completely going to cage him in. I'm going to build as many bunkers, and I've been fiddling around because I've been using the ghost units more often, and by this point of the game I have a lot of stuff back in my base, so I've teched up my units to have combat shields, and then they have the 1 armor. I'm teching up to 2 armor, and I've got ghosts coming in to call down nukes, hence the name nuclear warfare. So you see, he tries another thing here. He just gets this medley of units, and he's not teching them. I think at this time my guys had 2. I think they have 2. My view screen's kind of small here. Let's expand this. Let's see if I can tell if they had 2. But you see, I thwarted another fight, and this time I come out even more victorious because I had double barracks. And no, it looks like I still only had 1. No, I had 2. I had 2 armor, and I had 1 damage by this time. So my Marines have the upgraded edge over all his units there, but he starts pumping out siege tanks. He knows that if he can get something... Oh, I say trench warfare because this is where I came up with the idea. Because I saw he started bunkering down, so that's where it became trench warfare. But he decided to build siege tanks because he didn't want to be in this trench warfare. He wanted to come over and roll me. But I could beat his siege tanks by just running my Marines up to them and shooting them out, because my Marines had such heavy armor they could withstand the siege tanks who had no extra damage functions. So basically he's kind of frantically trying to out-strategize me while forgetting to tech up even. So I shouldn't have even let him grab that expansion. I should have expanded my little trench. If you can, you stop them from grabbing any expansion, and then you completely stop them from grabbing their base. This is where I call down the nuke. He decides to start outwarding his force towards my barracks. As I got a little pissed at that because I saw the siege tank. Boom! Goodbye siege tank. Goodbye 3 or 4 bunkers. Push in. I just full out pushed in after that. I was like, sweet, I just took out all that crap. That planetary fortress was a big issue though. Those things are pretty beefy, and even if my Marine had 3 damage by this time, they probably would have still got skunked by that. So I shouldn't have pushed forward so eagerly with that stupid thing still being there. Later on in the video, I nuke it again, but it's still nothing. It's still there. So he gets 2 more siege tanks, and this is where I was like, oh crap, he's gonna start slamming all my stuff. So I'm like, get in there. Send all my Marines in. Look at that. His siege tank has nothing on my Marines. But he had those Vikings to back up, you know, just extra firepower. I don't know why he continued to build Vikings after. This was a slightly favored player, by the way. He continues to build Vikings, which are easily getting picked off by my Marines. And they're good air units. They're okay for certain situations on ground, but anything can thwart their ground abilities. Their capabilities on ground are a lot less than any other units. So his siege tanks are just pounding my units as soon as they pop out of their bases. So I was over at my base preparing a counter for when he came to my base with a lot of siege tanks. I was expecting him to destroy this little fortification, my little trench I had up front. But he didn't, and I flew off. I just got away. So, no harm, no foul. He never used those Banshees either. He probably could have had me so easily with the Banshees, but he never chooses to use them. So his force starts rolling out to my base, and his Banshees just stayed back there. He wasn't doing so hot. And then I came back over to his base. I have another nuke. Boom! And I was kind of pissed off that it still didn't kill him. My ghost survives long enough to almost kill his base, and then he starts sending his guys over here. His Marines can't even put up as much of a fight as mine did. And check it out, I've got some Marauders on the way, so Marauders will kick his siege tanks, and the Marauders are going to have heavy armor and somewhat circumstantially increased weapon. Their weapons are going to be more proficient. So he's still got, you know, #1 on everything, and I guess this was his main force, because right here he just, good games. I've got all this resource left. I'm ready to start boosting up my troops to finish him off, and yeah, it's good. Great strategy. I'd recommend trying it sometime. Maybe on computers before players, but computers are different.